5 things you need to get started recording music right now. Hey guys, my name's Ed. In this video, I'm going to cover the 5 things you need to get started recording music at home in your home studio. In part 2, we're going to be talking about specific items you can buy if you're on a budget. There's some great stuff out there for silly money, so stick around and I'll walk you through a load of options for that as well. Number 1, it probably doesn't come as a surprise, but you will need a microphone. What this does is takes the sound waves that you make with your voice or the sound waves an instrument makes and then turns them into an electronic signal, which leads us on to item number 2. Ta-da! Item number 2 is a sound card, also known as an audio interface. What this does is it takes that analog signal from our microphone, turns it into a digital signal or a series of ones and noughts that our computer can then process. Which leads us to item number 3. Have you guessed it? I'm sure you've guessed it. We need a computer. Now, do you need a Mac or a PC? There are benefits to both. Most professional audio producers will use a Mac because they're less prone to viruses, they're more stable and ergonomically easier to work with. Going down the PC route, however, provides you with more options for free software and free plugins if that's something you're after. The consideration with Mac versus PC, however, is one of the most famous music production softwares called Logic Pro X only works on Macs. If you are going down the PC route, you will have to check that whatever system you have is compatible with the software you want to use. And that brings us to number 4, our digital audio workspace, or DAW for short, or DAW. What is a digital audio workspace? Good question. Well, before the days of computers, recording studios used to have massive mixing desks. As you can see in the picture above here, that desk is in Sun Sound Studios in LA, or as you can see from this one here, Paul McCartney at Abbey Road Studios. Audio used to be recorded into a preamp, which was then sent out to a big tower of hardware units, or outboard gears as sometimes called, and this would include compressors, EQs, reverbs, delays. That signal would then get sent back into a mixing desk where it would get mixed using the faders and EQ, and then that would then get recorded onto tape. Nowadays, and the genius of computers are that we can do all of that in our computer in a piece of software. These are very powerful bits of software that enable people like myself and Billie Eilish to record albums at home and, in her case, be massively successful with it. I'll talk through some DAWs in a little bit, but first of all, let's talk about the 5th thing we need, which is some form of monitoring. We're going to need headphones or we're going to need studio speakers. Why do we need monitoring? Because if you've got a Mac, you know that your MacBook speakers suck, and a lot of PCs just have little rubbish tower speakers and they're not really great for mixing music. So we need something of a better quality with more bass, flatter EQ response, and then we can start getting some brilliant mixers. Check out part 2 of this video. I'm going to be talking about some great entry-level cheap options for you there. If your budget only allows you to extend to either headphones or studio speakers, I would strongly suggest getting headphones because you're going to be recording with those as well. Other things to include that are useful are microphone stands. I personally like to walk around when I'm singing. I don't want to be holding a microphone. Next thing we need is a pop shield for the p and b sounds. Now, when I was at uni, I used to use a coat hanger, stretched out like that, with a pair of tights in the middle. Now, I don't have a pair of tights, so I'm going to keep using my K&M pop shield, but if you are on a budget and you want to get creative, that's one way of doing it. And finally, talking about music production software, there are several names you've probably heard brandished around, such as Pro Tools and Logic Pro X. Pro Tools is definitely the industry standard one, and to buy that you do need a very powerful computer system and a $300 a year subscription fee to use that. Logic Pro is also industry standard and arguably is better for MIDI. I use Logic Pro all the time with a MIDI keyboard, and that's how I produce all my demos before recording live. Logic is £200, but you can only use it on MacBook computers. Others out there are Cubase, which has an Essentials version for £85 and the full version for £500. There's Nuendo, which is an eye-watering £860. I've no idea how they can justify that compared to the others. but I've never used it, so I'm not the person to ask about that. Others include Studio One and Reaper, and I've heard good things about those, so it's personal taste. A lot of the companies supplying this software offer free trials. I know Reaper and Logic during this global crisis are offering 90 days free to use their software as a trial. Definitely check them out, see which works for you, and let me know in the comments below which one you decided to go for. What I would say about Logic though and Pro Tools is if you search YouTube, there are by far more tutorials on Logic and then probably Pro Tools than any other software. So if you do want to really learn this stuff, although there are tools and places you can access education on all this, YouTube is such a great place for tutorials, and Logic is definitely the most covered software out of all of them. So bear that in mind when making your decision. So there's a basic summary. We need a microphone, we need a sound card, we need a computer, we need a DAW music production software, and we need some monitoring, whether that be headphones or speakers. Stick around for the next part of this video and we're going to go into some detail about what you can buy. I'm actually quite excited about that episode because there's some great stuff on the market. So subscribe below so you don't miss that episode, and I will see you guys on the next one.